Hey, Squad RG, Hank Boomershine here, Vice President of Sales and R&D, along with my esteemed guests, Roto Schlem and Alex Hoskins. I know we promised you in 2024 we were going to deliver some more technical information across all the brands, and so the last time we had a little conversation about some store balls. Today we're going to talk a little bit about a brand new Roto Grip ball, and we're all pretty excited about this one. There's a lot of buzz going on out there, a lot of buzz from the sales force, a lot of buzz from the staffers. It's a lot going on, and this is release week, Schlem.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was going to say, I think it's a lot of buzz, not just exactly what you said, but it's like every level, from consumer to pro shop. Our staffers were excited. Plenty of staffers reach out to me from the tour. Of man, we're prime example. Wes Malott practicing the other night, the last week in Chicago. Like as he's practicing for round 2, he's like, bro, I'm throwing this ball. And he goes, man, did that? And I go, all right, yeah. So we got a little something working there for sure. And everybody else is going to get to throw it this Friday. That's we're excited. It's time.
I think the big thing too is everybody attention star. So
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody kind of knows a little bit. It was in play.
May I have your attention, please?
It was in play across the pond for a couple of years, and
Absolutely.
as we've done in the past, we kind of seeded some balls or seeded some designs and developed something, and then we want to bring it into the domestic market, and here's the first one. What makes it so special?
I think, honestly, Hank, this is a part, again, like we've talked about time and time again, you guys are the brains behind the stuff. It's like, I've had the conversations with, different guys around here, Gary and Tyler. I'm like, kind of these numbers of this shape, and you guys are okay, yeah, we get to planning a program and building stuff and doing the whole deal. And, like you mentioned, this one's been around for a little while. And, when we got to talking about, there's a certain reaction I wanted to see on the lane. And when we brought it up, and there's a lot more, in terms of AI technology, this is, the first, this is the first introduction for Roto Grip with
Sure.
AI.
Uh-huh.
And it happens to be in asymmetric as well. And Alex will touch upon that here in a second, but it was, hey, this and that, and then it kind of led down a path of, well, we got this part that does that kind of what you're looking for, but if we modify it a little bit more and do this and this, and I'm like, sold. And, I think that was, no, really, I think that was a big thing too of, taking a time-tested and proven part.
Yeah.
And again, not everybody had access, because we know those people that like to buy the overseas balls and
Sure.
pay to import them in. And I get the random calls or emails or Facebook messages like, hey, can you tell me about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, man, sometimes I got to think, like, which international ball was that and how long ago was it?
Sure.
And so, yeah, it falls
Which cover
down.
did we put on that one?
Right. And that's what I have to, even I have to. There's so many balls coming from that market. It's one of those things. So,
100
but I
plus
think,
a year.
yeah, so this was all part of, creating a certain reaction. And like I said, it was, when I talked to you guys and we were discussing another HP4 part, this was something that, I think I don't know which one was first of all, well, we should put that in AI. And I'm like, okay, you guys think
Yeah,
so.
because when I was part of that original design of this Momentous AV a few years back, and we were trying to create a super torquey shape that, there was a lot of people that were going, and our Asian customers were, and our international customers were asking, we want something kind of a little bit physics-esque type kind of ball, real torquey. So, a little more true elliptical kind of shape with a slug on the bottom to create that kind of torque effect. And kind of this one how it started, and then we used it over there. And then, coming back AI, Alex did a lot of work to get it, the AI core, and then developed, and we can modify that internal shape just a little bit as far as the densities and everything. So coming to this type of reaction.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, I'm excited. I think it was one of those deals that once y'all saw the Waze video and some stuff like that, but once our staffers started throwing a little bit more, even Simon was here, and we talked about it, and he looked at me, and again, he's not normally a big ASIM guy,
No.
and he threw a couple shots and he spun around. I go, what do you think? He goes, let me see a few things, and as a typical tour player does. He moved in, he moved right, he did, different tricks with his hand, and he goes, oh, this one's in play. And I'm like, oh, well, okay. And that's not something that always happens, straight out of the gate with the big ball like that. And so anyway, yeah, the tour guys are excited about it. And I think the big thing, like you said, for Roto Grip, this is the first time with AI. And Alex, can you tell kind of the momentous AV, the altered variant, because again we changed the density from what we were using overseas, but this AI, just kind of the marriage and the cohesion of this.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot. The marriage of that weight block and the actual core really can enhance how that ball's going to roll. And I think Hank hit on it pretty good. This is a really torquey shape, right?
Oh, for sure.
We have, he kind of mentioned ellipses, and ellipse is kind of a stretched out circle almost, if you will. But what we actually did with this one is it's not perfectly even top to bottom. It actually gets thinner up towards the top and then bigger down towards the bottom. So you have a little bit of extra weight down there towards the bottom, plus the slug. As that's starting to kind of roll over itself, you got a lot more mass, kind of dual density, if you will, on one side versus the other, which really makes that torque effect a lot more. And then when you add that AI core technology in there, you're able to get that RG even a hair lower, so it spins up a bit faster. Right. Ball wants to kick off the spot really well.
Well, and I think it too, and you guys have probably seen it now, with videos online, and then even like at Matchmaker, if you've gone to a Matchmaker event in your region, you've got to throw it. And I've heard quite the diverse reaction to it. We've had people say that, oh, it's a slower response and doesn't do this and that. And I think the big thing is there's so many variables in today's game that when we take a core that's torquey like that, and with the pearl cover, something that's held true throughout the test of time is sometimes pearl covers actually stand up faster than you see because they respond to friction. And if you've got friction in the lane surface, and all these other variables with different oils and all the other things. And I think that's but all in all, I think the big thing is, man, that ball gets down the lane. It's got some giddy up, even with the AI technology. So I think I think it's a drastic difference between what we see in the summits that we've seen so far to something like this.
Yeah, and I think for us, in trying to develop across 3 brands, you're always trying to look at, where are we missing a little something? You and I talked about this a lot, is we didn't really have a pearl ASIM that was really clean, and then very responsive to the friction. And then, talking to Alex and kind of making a couple little tweaks here and there. And I think we tried a couple different covers, but settling on the E-Trax Plus was, I think the magic of this one was to create that really clean through the front, really responsive to the drive.
Yeah, and that was the big thing of circling back to. And that's, I've told you guys time and time again on the Roto Grip side, it's, I see it all as a big puzzle, and each puzzle piece. And, there was where that spot was of, hey, we need to get the ball down lane and kick. Okay, well, how do we do that? And that's where I go to you guys and we start piecing parts together. And, E-Trax Plus goes back to, the RS2, X2. You get back into, and even that kind of that motion was, based off of, in my head, I'm thinking X2, UC2, the clean and pop. Yeah. And it's like, okay, we need that somehow. And, that's kind of the dealio. So, Alex, it gets into with, I think the other thing too I want to talk about is something we started, and you guys have seen it in the marketing and stuff like that, using the AI. Again, this gets into using AI technology in the lighter weights as well. As we say, not just the 16, 15, 14, boom, we're now bringing you ASIM and AI in the 12s and 13s as well. Is there, obviously if it's verdict's still early, we're also going to have it, I guess, in harsh reality with AI and that deal. Have we seen a benefit? I'm sure there's got to be something with asymmetry and AI in that lightweight.
Yeah, I kind of come back to it every time we talk about AI, right? It comes back to those density limits, and when you're trying to make bowling balls lighter in those lighter weights, you can't make the ball smaller. There's a certain size that you have to stick to. So allowing us to be able to use different densities, and we can actually increase the density of the weight block a little bit maybe, and then lower the density of the core a little, and that changes those RG and differential numbers because it's the proportion of where that weight is. Is it closer to the center? Is it further out, closer to the shell? And that creates a lot different rotation and how quickly that ball is going to spin up to friction. And not a ton of people are too worried about RGs and diffs in 12s, 13s, but it does help a little bit to lower them a little.
Oh, for sure. And I think it gets into, and Hank, and we've all had these conversations with, you run into people that are, whether it's they're injured and they're, or maybe that's their back or their shoulder, all they can throw is that. And and I actually had this at the military tournament last month. I had this conversation because a lot of the older generations, as we age, we don't we don't need the heavier weights, and but then you get to a spot. I had a gentleman who had already gone down to 14, and he's like, hey, I'm going to 13. What can you tell me? And so we talked about it, and I explained to him. I said, you're going to see, we do have the tri-lifted part at 13. I said, but now we have AI technology, and I said that kind of creates a different deal. And he looked at me, he goes, oh, so, and I pulled it up on the phone and tried to show numbers. He goes, this is really cool. And then explain to him like summits and other stuff, and I go, so now we actually, there's a bigger variety. Like you said, we're kind of limited as far as when you get those lighter weights where you can and can't do. Now we've opened up a whole other level, and so yeah, it's kind of cool. I mean, it's definitely a thing to focus on.
And one other thing I think that I've seen, and I think you guys have seen too with AI, that's been really exciting on the R&D side of things is it's rolled really well for so many different styles of player. It's been on a couple of different balls now. Pretty much every single one of those balls it's rolled really good under each kind of circumstance that it's supposed to be for, but for a lot of different players, it's really been.
And I think the other thing too is we still focus a little bit. The AI allows those little off-pocket hits too, and especially being lightweights, and that if you can get 3 to 5% more, even in a little bit lighter weight, say that 13 or 12, it's amazing how much that 1 or 2 hits 3 hits in a set, or in a night turns a 570 series into a 620 series just like that, because you string a couple together, and next thing you know, you got a few more pins. And I think that's the magic of AI. It gives you that little bit extra, I think, and using that technology to our advantage and using it to let the consumers see that as well too. It's a marriage of you get all those together. We can adjust densities a little bit better. Now we can up the density of the core. We can lighten the wrap, but we also create the energy transfer because of the unique shape and those facets on that core, which just makes it something quite unique in the industry.
I think that was one of the craziest things about testing when we did the testing with the ramp and everything. We got that offset like perfect to where you would like 5-pin almost every time, and we would roll the the non-AI core down there, and we were videoing them in slow motion. You could see it like just barely missing the 5-pin. We even went as far as to put all the pins on spot. Exactly in the same spot by hand. And then you'd roll the AI one down there, and you'd catch it a couple of times. It's just a little bit different in how it hits and how it transfers that energy and bounces through the pins.
And I think the big thing too is, not to say that this is the end-all be-all and this is the answer for everything and everyone, because I was actually just talking to a staffer earlier. He was upset with the hype pearl going away. He's like, man, how are you taking away my league ball? He's averaging like 248 with a hype pearl, and he's had like 6 800s in this one league. And he's like, so what I'm saying is the reason we build all these different bowling balls is to cover all these different conditions and all the different reactions. And yes, AI in a certain situation is beneficial and it does what it does, but then there's times where, maybe you don't need that type. Even though we're building a ball that's cleaner and more change direction down lane, in your head, you're going to think that, but then there's going to be times, like you said, the RG comes down, so where, you're still going to need that hustle, or you're still going to need, a TNT infused, something to get through the spot even cleaner. And, if we put an AI, well, now all of a sudden it starts coming closer to you. So this is all going to be, again, puzzle pieces on how we build the product line, still moving forward. And, we got a lot of exciting stuff coming out of the pipeline as well, for Roto Grip, including, AI. Man, maybe in a symmetrical core, maybe a little something.
Too much here. Come on.
Yeah. And that kind of thing. I mean, but anyway, I know that because I've had that comment. I'm sure you guys have had it too. We're like, oh, AI seems like it's the deal, but not every situation, I guess. Kind of like when we talk about our correlation, we all talk about golf. It's one of those deals of, hey, this fairway wood or this, rescue club does this, but man, you look at it and go, probably better if I hit an iron out of that spot.
Yeah, 3 guys.
It's one of those deals.
3 guys sitting here. I mean, I'll play a Pro V1. Schlemer will play
a ranger ball. I can play a ranger ball.
An AVX, and
I'll play whatever I can
Hoskins
find
might
out on the court.
be a Pro V1X. Yeah. But I think a couple things is Blair's got her hand in the air, and I think there might be a few questions from the field. So let's field some questions. Go ahead.
Well, Patrick mentioned you mentioned something at the beginning that Patrick's asked you about. He wants to know. Obviously, there are 3 brands: Storm, Roto Grip, Global. Are the 3 companies trying to complement each other or compete?
It's a total compliment.
All the above.
I mean, we're trying to mesh them between each other. We're trying to create that So that nothing, like we talked about in the last video, in the Absolute Power Summit Peak, they were definitely different than anything we had. There were some comparisons or questions between Sublime and a few other balls. So how's some people, and a Journey, they're all on top of each other. No, they're distinctively different from each other. And so the thing is too, is now we're creating an asymmetric here that is not anything like we make in any of the other two brands.
Well, just to piggyback that right quick, this week as well, Harsh Reality's coming out, and it's asymmetric with AI core. By the way, if you drill those two balls the same and you see the exact same reaction, that means there's another dominating variable, whether it is the friction in the lane surface or a certain type of oil pattern that's making them do that. But for all intents and purposes and just general, basics, AI, asymmetric, they're feet apart. Yeah. So I think that's and I think that, like we said, we talk about all the time with the puzzle pieces, and that's been my thing, since following in your footsteps into this Roto Grip thing. Storm has a lot more SKUs and a lot of different reactions. It was before we had the third one. How can we plug Roto Grip in to fit in around that? And now Global comes in. Now we fit that in as well, and so it's all about side to side and front to back. And I think we've talked about before, as you have referenced quite a few times in videos, the front to back thing. Because again, you get into pattern lengths, and there's so many things that sometimes when you have a conversation with somebody, and again, this happened to me at the military. This guy started talking, and all of a sudden he's just looking at me, and he's like, his eyes got open real big, his mouth dropped, and he's like, "Wow, I had no idea." And I'm like, but again, these are just some of the variables. There's a whole lot more that come with that. So,
but I think the answer to the question is we're always trying to interlace them and not make them
complement as well.
Yes, complement's the best.
Yep.
Vibo versus the Tension Star.
You guys have thrown them both quite a bit more than I have.
Oh yeah.
What's your
Alex? You and I both thrown these a lot.
Personal take.
Yeah, talking core wise, you have a lot more intermediate in the Vibo, right? A little bit more. I guess they're pretty close.
They're pretty close, right? It's a little smaller though. Volumetric mass is a little smaller, so faster spinning.
Yeah.
So it wants to kind of get offline a little quicker because it's getting around its PSA a little faster. Where this one, like you said, is that little bit more torquey, little bit more elongation, creates that directional or that skid path to be a little bit longer. So RGs and diffs are not a whole lot different than each other. It's just that torque factor in the smaller, faster spinning part in the Vibo versus the longer, torquier part in that Attention Star, definitely.
On top of the cover
slightly stronger cover.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing too when you start getting into, granted it is E-Trax Plus, but again, for those of you've heard me talk countless times, there's no additives in it. That's purely reactive and chemical. Yeah, clean. There's no particles. We're not creating extra teeth, and Vivo does have a little bit of that sprinkled in. So again, you take where the core's torquing, where the cover's seeing it, two totally different spots.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, we'll do one more comparison, and then you guys can.
Hustle versus Attention Star.
No, my favorite. UC2 versus Attention Star. That's been my favorite. Amanda's in. How does this compare to the UC2?
Well, I'm going to throw this one back to Hank because this again.
Once again, you go back to the Rondura core, bigger volumetric mass, but more rounded volumetric mass, not as much intermediate.
Mild asymmetry.
Not as much intermediate. Yeah. So to me, the UC2 clean and a little more round was still a little defined. Where they're still probably going to go about the same distance, but their UC2 would round the back of the pattern, where this one will be very check markish, very abrupt when it does.
Shorter window.
Yeah, transition.
Where it changes its direction. For sure.
That's a good analogy. Shorter front to back.
Lots of people are excited about the Attention series coming to the States.
Oh, see, there is a little something. See,
yeah.
So we got your attention. Perfect. That was the goal. I think the other thing it goes into as well, and you guys, I don't know if you heard this yet or seen it. I've seen it quite a bit. The color combination. Again, as not what you see online, and until you physically see it in person, because that was some of the things. Even some of the tour guys were like, "Man, this ball's pretty," but the big thing is it's different. It's not. I've become, as you can see, bright colors don't bother me, and and there's been plenty of bright colors through the Roto Grip line.
Bright colors.
Yeah, over the years, and but having this just kind of more of a subtle and again the way it sees the lane and it's
clean,
polished. Yeah, it's the visual, both reaction.
It's a very rich color. It's very it looks very expensive, rich. That kind of regal color.
We'll go with that.
So
not the wild and crazy fun color. But hey, anyway, it's again that was part of it as well. Going, bringing an international release stateside. Again, like Hank said, with the 100+ that are manufactured on this billing a year across all our brands to have something like, again, there was something to it, and we were all piecing it. We were able to all piece it together to make something that is gonna fit the line and gonna benefit the masses, if you will.
Sure.
There are a couple questions about. Well, this person wants to know: will we get a solid cover stock with the attention line?
This is always the first question.
I was going to say,
here's
what's
the new
next?
home.
I had this conversation not too long ago. Actually, last month, Attention Star, we had it on display. Guy goes, "What's next?" I go, "You
not even out yet.
You have to wait a full month, like 4.5 weeks." He goes, "Yeah, I know, but what's next?" And I think, in the words of Steve Phillips from MLB Network, when I listen to the show in the morning, shout out to my guy, but what's next is next. Attention Star this Friday. That's really what it is. Will there be another cover on it? It's hard to say. I guess it's safe to think that way.
Sure.
Is there one coming with that next week? No. Next month? No. When? I don't know. And I think that's the deal of, we've got other plans and we have a full calendar of stuff, and these guys are, developing and creating and testing, and there's a lot of cool stuff that's kind of hanging out around, as we refer to the mothership here in Utah. There's a lot of cool things going on, and never say never, let's put it that way. But I can't give you a definitive answer on when, hypothetical. Here's a hypothetical. Sure.
Yeah.
How's that?
All right, we'll take 2 more questions.
All right.
Jeremy is confused. He
Yes.
says, "Wait, is this the attention line or the star line?"
D, all the above. No, the reason the Attention Star went this route is, we've had as we've talked about, International has had this Attention series for, 3+ years. And I'm trying to remember what that total is. Is it 12 of them?
Quite a few.
12. I think there's at least a dozen Attentions already. And this one.
First with AI.
This was the first one with AI, and it was just one of those deals when I was, again, when I get to. So these guys do the technical creating stuff, and then I get to do the creative spinning stuff, and I'm like, it was one of those deals where just, I don't know, something, my brain was stuck in space, and I'm like, integrating the Roto Grip Star and Attention Star, just kind of stuck, and it's already morphed into its own plate and direction. So will there be an Attention Star 2 or Attention Star Galaxy, Attention Star
Track? No, we can't do Star Trek.
Attention Star, Attention Shooting Star? I mean, we
did Shooting Star.
I know, now it's Attention. I mean, it could be any number of things,
Rising,
but yeah.
Attention Rising Star?
So this version is here domestically as the Attention Star series, and so we'll figure out how to, again, I haven't even got that far yet. It's just like, oh, hey, here's the first one. And now you guys are already asking, hey, what are you doing for the second one? I can't, I don't know yet. I haven't got there. So.
All right, final question. We've had this come up twice. It's another comparison.
Yep.
Attention Star compared to the alert, UFO alert.
Oh. Alex, you're enjoying this. Come on now.
This one you're getting, at least cover-wise now, you're a little bit more comparable, right? Cleaner and cleaner.
Yeah, because that was hybrid, and that was,
But the unique thing, and Hank really drew that shape, but the unique thing with UFO Alert is you had single density piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had a cavity in there as well. Mm-hmm. So you're creating that imbalance a little bit differently. This one's going to be a little bit more torquey off of it because of that distribution of the weight, where the other, the UFO
and the slug
alert,
on it, right?
Right, yeah, no slug on the
ET
alert, yeah,
on the ET
exactly.
player, right?
So a little bit more even rolling off of it. I think that's why a lot of people like that ball, is it was just so clean, and it felt like it gave you that long window through the back part of the lane, was really continuous off of it. Where again, this one's going to be a little bit faster and change direction a little bit harder.
Yeah, because when you start with the symmetric part and you take mass away from the symmetric part, versus this one's truly is an asymmetrical shape from the very beginning of design. So yeah, that's that rounded kind of symmetric look, but then with the cutaways to create some asymmetry, so there's still some definition to that break point down lane where you're still not a true symmetric, where it kind of rounds the spot a little bit. Sometimes it needs a little extra friction to get it going. So.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing and selling point of that, even into the, when we changed the density to bring it into the clone, that part is, if you look at it, if you don't look at the cavities, it's a symmetrical, it's a light bulb. It's a light bulb shape.
It's well started.
So you can get that. You almost get a symmetrical type reaction out of it.
I was just going to say it fits into that. The crux was kind of that similar kind of idea. You get a symmetrically asymmetrical type of shape off of it. Right. Clean enough, but not super fast as it changes direction. And it really just kind of gives you the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. Sweet.
All right. We done?
I think we're going to shut her on down.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we answered all the questions. So.
All right.
All right, Squad RG. Hey, thanks again for tuning in. And remember, 2024, we're going to continue to offer this Tech Talk series with all the releases. And even when there maybe isn't a release, we might have a little Tech Talk going on. It's just some things. There's been a lot of it been brought in, or questions about, hey, can you do some more of this from time to time? And it's something to look forward to. Hopefully, we can bring you some more good stuff down the road. And we always appreciate your support of our brands. And we ask that you make those great following on our YouTube channels, across the social media platforms. Schlem does a great job of delivering a lot of information to you through those portals and channels. So once again, thanks again, guys, for all your support, and have a great day.
Catch you down.